jet sweep, and you tell me that Carson Kent isn't going to be in a situation to throw the football next year in a big SEC game, then maybe I can feel a little bit better. But this is not like OU did not get an all-SEC tight end today. And I don't think that anyone is, going with that thinking that they did. I'm going to guess that they probably get another tight end via the transfer portal. We'll see what they end up. But, man, when we talk about what has to be better next year, the tight end position may be – it's certainly one of the first things that we're going to bring up, Parker. And I guess we'll see throughout the spring things that we hear, though we heard a lot of great things about Bauer Sharp last year. If Carson Kent and whoever else is in that room can help the tight end position, not even be great next year or elite. They just be solid. Don't be the weak point of the football team.
And I don't think it will be, because you have options going into next year. And at this point, you have options that have been and I understand this. I will say this. You're counting on potential. I get that. You haven't seen it much yet. And does Carson Kent really change my opinion of the room overall? No, it doesn't. Do I think you still need to ideally go add somebody else to compete for the role? I do. But, Tyler, there are enough answers. There are enough possible answers in that room at this point that I think somebody emerges, whether that's Devon Mitchell, whether that is Carson Kent, whether that is somebody like Caden Helms or Cade McIntyre or even Trenae Washington, or pick whoever transfer OU adds down the road. I think there are enough possible answers that come the beginning of the 2025 season, there will be an answer.
Realtor Chris said, I would argue the tight end position was very consistent this past season. And I thought of that, Chris, as soon as I said that. So fair point. Chris from Knoxville says if he doesn't throw an interception and can catch a wide open pass, then his career will be better than Bauer Sharp's tenure. Man, the guy has been committed to LSU for a week and a half now, and he's still getting slander on the text line, old Bauer Sharp. 3-star Yukon Bob says, Carson Kent, yes, we have Superman. Oh, wait, that was Clark Kent. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you as well, Yukon Bob. 405 says if he's willing to play for Joe John Finley, he's not good enough to play at Oklahoma. Boy, is there really any question at this point who the most criticized coach on staff is right now? Seems pretty big runaway to me at this point.
There is no question whatsoever. The people hate Joe John Finley.
Yeah, it's not a great situation, right? The team needs the tight end position to be a lot better next year. Joe John Finley, really, really, really needs the tight end position to be a lot better next year if he's still here. Cherokee Sooner says Kennesaw State. Really? That was the first text that we got of the day, so yeah, I say mixed reactions. A lot of people kind of, very down on the tight end situation as OU gets Carson Kent, out of Kennesaw State earlier today. But, hey, I still think the real story is John Mateer, who Wednesday night of last week, John Mateer commits. And is it fair to say it all? Because I think our hope, and this kind of goes back to quarterback recruiting out of the high school ranks, is, hey, if you get a legitimate quarterback that a lot of people gravitate to, maybe that helps you recruit other skill players. Maybe that helps you recruit just kind of overall. Do we think that that's happened at all with OU since John Mateer committed? They got, 3 wide receivers in this class now. Has he brought any positive momentum to what OU's trying to do in the portal class? No?
Well, I don't really think so. That's the thing, Tyler. I know the answer that people want to hear, and I don't know if it's the answer that I'm comfortable giving, because it doesn't really seem like there's been that much positive momentum since Mateer jumped on board. All of the wide receivers that Oklahoma was pursuing, kind of on a concurrent timeline as Mateer. Well, Giovanni Gibson committed before Mateer, and then after Mateer jumped on who you were getting anyway, and Keontez Lewis, who you were getting anyway. So, I guess as I look at Oklahoma's portal class right now, I don't look at any of the other 7 additions and conclude, yep, John Mateer had a huge impact on that guy's decision. Maybe that's coming. Yeah. Maybe it's coming somewhere down the line.
Hope so.
But I don't get the sense that we've seen the Mateer boom yet.
Here's what OU's got 8 commits via the transfer portal right now. Of course, John Mateer at quarterback. You've got 3 wide receivers, 2 offensive linemen, a punter, and a tight end. Now, I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to see if your answer lines up with 24/7 Sports, what they think. Now, clearly, John Mateer is the crown jewel of what you've gotten in the transfer portal. We knew that all along that was going to be the case, and I don't think that anyone's out there to change our minds about that. I mean, several services have him ranked as the number 1 overall player in the portal. Of course, he's the best player that you've got in the portal thus far. Who do you think is the second best player they've gotten in the portal up to this point?
Derek Simmons, probably?
That's what 24/7 Sports
I
thinks.
think that'd be my answer.
Yeah, they've got him at an 88, and they've got Keontez Lewis and Isaiah Satania both at 87s, along with Giovanni Gibson. So if you care about, where these guys are ranked, at least in the eyes of 24/7 Sports, and this is not an exact science, it's tough, but John Mateer, the highest-ranked player you've got via the portal, followed by Derek Simmons, the tackle out of Western Carolina, and then all 3 of your receivers are right behind those 2 players at 3, 4, and 5. And I would say that, at this point, I would probably agree with that assessment.
Yeah. I mean, where do they have Baklenko, just out of curiosity?
They have him just below it, like an 80. Oh, actually, a little bit further, down at an 84. 84 rating.
84. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear at this point that there is a bit of a chasm in terms of overall level of talent between John Mateer and Derek Simmons and then the rest of the crew. I think a guy that could end up being very impactful and that has certainly flown under the radar so far would be Jacob Ulrich, the punter. I mean, 46 yards per boot this past year at Kennesaw State. So that's a guy you hope you don't have to use, but I think Oklahoma got a really good one. It doesn't feel like outside of Mateer, the Sooners have swung and connected on any home runs thus far. Derek Simmons, that's a good get. Isaiah Satania, that's a good get. Giovanni Gibson, Luke Baklenko, those types of guys, all good gets. The only great get in my mind so far is John Mateer.
Yeah. No, I would totally agree with that. Now, like you're saying, we'll see if they can connect on another great get via the transfer portal, which I think that they definitely need to have. I mean, maybe more than one. And maybe that get can come from one of these teams that are still out there playing, maybe in a playoff. We'll see. But still a ways to go, I think, in the transfer portal. Back to the text line. A verified source says, no, a donor at Arkansas. Robinson, for them, got north of $1 million. So our verified
that would be
source.
Corey Robinson.
Yep.
Yeah, Corey Robinson, the transfer offensive tackle from Georgia Tech. And, yeah, that tracks with what I'd heard as well. The number was getting very, very large. And I think Oklahoma was better served to just get Derek Simmons on board and call it a day at offensive line. Here's kind of the question I have, Tyler. And this is a question. I'm not necessarily saying this is my opinion, but this is the natural question going into 2025 that if people are not actively asking, they should be. Has Oklahoma surrounded John Mateer with enough weapons in the passing game that they can realistically expect him to even approximate the production that he had in 2024 at Washington State? And the report card is unfinished. That much is evident. We don't know what the grade is going to look like when Oklahoma is completely done in the transfer portal, Tyler, but that's still very much a question I have right now. Looking at this cast of characters, a wide receiver and tight end, is this enough for John Mateer? Have you set him up well enough that he can be realistically expected to do the things in the SEC that he did last year in the Pac-2 with an obvious adjustment variable in there for an uptick in the level of competition?
I mean, I would say no at tight end. I don't think that would be a very unpopular thought right now, right? The answer right now would be no at tight end, unless someone like a Devon Mitchell really emerges next year, and that's a giant if at this point. So I would say no at tight end. I'd be a lot closer at wide receiver, but, I mean, there's no room for error at this point. And I guess I would be saying closer to yes at wide receiver just because of my belief with how good Deion Burks is, but he got hurt a couple of times last year, and I'm sure that we're going to have some real injury questions with him going into next year, and it can't just be him. I like Jaden Gibson too, but he's coming off an injury. Like the guys that I like the most at this point are coming off some injuries, and the guys that you're bringing in that did have big numbers last year did it at a much smaller level. So I need to see more. I need to see more big-time gets at wide receiver than what I'm seeing right now to say absolutely yes, John Mateer is in a situation to just really take the SEC by storm next year.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot to me that is going to be, or I guess there's certainly a lot unfinished. We know that much. I'm going to start to form my opinion on the 2025 Oklahoma Sooners within the next month or so. Once Oklahoma wraps up the winter portal cycle, obviously there will be a couple holes left to fill, I would think, a couple scholarships that are yet unaccounted for that the Sooners will look to fill in the spring window. But, man, I have very mixed feelings. You got the biggest one. You got the one you had to have.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like right now you've made a splash anywhere else. And so I don't really know how to feel right now about the Sooners heading into 2025. Is John Mateer so good in isolation that he alone, individually, can elevate your offense back to the status that it occupied from 1999 all the way up until this tailspin of a 2024 season? He may be, but he also may not be. He may need weapons. He may face a similar plight in 2025 that Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins faced in 2024, where they just don't have the dudes to make them look as good as they would look if they didn't have to do it all themselves. So, very, very interesting time to cover the Oklahoma Sooners right now.
Hey, here's some good news. Two-Star Christian Chicago gives us the winner of the day. And Two-Star Christian Chicago likes to bring up this individual every opportunity that he gets. And in all caps, the winner of the day, Liam Damn Evans. Two-Star Christian Chicago, the biggest Liam Evans fan I know out there. So hopefully he gets his chance next year. Hopefully so.
Well, and at this point, it looks like he's getting his chance because the Sooners made a play for the transfer from Western Kentucky, the Sun Belt or whatever conference Western Kentucky's in. He was the conference's special teams player of the year. Lucas Carnero, he committed to Ole Miss today, Tyler. So
yeah.
As it stands, Liam Evans is the only kicker on Oklahoma's roster heading into 2025, and Jacob Ulrich is the only punter on Oklahoma's roster heading into 2025.
All right, how do you guys feel so far about the transfer portal for OU? What the incoming, the outgoing, where they've ended up? Like, where are we at right now? Monday, December 23rd. We still got a ways to go here in the transfer portal. Not a ways to go in terms of players officially entering into the transfer portal. We'll still see some others, but feels like a bulk of those numbers have already been in the portal. So where are we at right now, guys, here in late December? Let us know on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. We'll talk about everything going on with OU in the portal, what's out there, who OU could be pursuing, and a whole lot more. Keep it locked on the ref for the home of Sooner fans. Horns Down Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the Yums because Spike was safe, Horns Down Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Horns Down celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Buffet, complimentary bar, plus a great view of the game, and you can choose from the Budweiser 703 Club, UMB Champions Club, Proficient Red Jacket Club, and more. So treat your family, your friends, your clients, or just yourself with all-inclusive Cardinals tickets. They're on sale now at cardinals.com/holiday.
Give hell the bird with Mallard Construction and Roofing. Mallard Construction and Roofing is your full-service residential roofing and restoration company. Family-owned and operated, Mallard wants to make a difference in every aspect of the process from bidding to completion of the job. As 2023 Reader's Choice Awards Best Roofer, we have all the tools necessary to make your job successful. Give hell the bird today and call Mallard Construction and Roofing at 405-364-4501 for your free quote.
Also schedule a roof inspection today with Mallard and enter their Jeep giveaway contest. For 3 generations, the John M. Ireland & Son Funeral Home and Chapel in Morris continued to serve the community by giving back to local schools, charitable organizations, and first responders.
We provide pre-planning for funerals and cremation services at the most reasonable prices.
We are proud to be a family-owned and operated funeral home.
Award-winning funeral home year after year, our family believes in serving the people of our community.
I'm John Ireland.
And I'm Solon Daniels.
You've got our word on it.
Schumacher Law Group, when experience matters. Tracy Schumacher is a former prosecutor and former district judge. Whether it's a probate challenge, criminal charges, or contentious divorce proceedings, experience matters. The attorneys at Schumacher Law Group provide compassionate, knowledgeable advice, all while fighting for your best interests. Find Schumacher Law Group online at lawgroupok.com or call 405-701-1882. Hometown lawyers ready to fight for you when experience matters. Hi everyone, it's TJ Perry here from the T-Row in the Morning Show for my friends over at Joe's Wines and Spirits. The great staff at Joe's Place would like to thank their loyal customers and wish everyone a happy holiday. And speaking of the holidays, whether you need great gift ideas or you're hosting a holiday party, Joe's Wines is there to help with their great selection and most of all, great prices. So do what I do. Head over to Joe's Wines and Spirits, 1330 East Alameda Street, right here in Norman, or visit their Facebook page for all their monthly specials. Happy holidays from Joe's Wines and Spirits.
After I drop the kids off, I have to run across town for a meeting, hit the gym during lunch. Jake has soccer tonight, and Emily has gymnastics? Oh, did I turn on the crock pot this morning?
With a never-ending to-do list, it's easy to forget something important, like setting up a life insurance plan with Shelter Insurance. Your local Shelter agent can show you how to create a safety net for your family. Shelter Life Insurance Company, Columbia, Missouri.
For auto, home, life, or business insurance, see Shelter agent Brian McPherson.
Toyotathon's Christmas special is here. Celebrate this holiday season by saving up to $6,504 on a new 2024 Tundra SR5 CrewMax 4x4. Plus, we cover your taxes as part of this exclusive holiday deal. Make your season merrier with Toyotathon's limited time deals on new Toyota vehicles. Get our exclusive offers on new Tundras through the new year at Fowler Toyota Norman, proud sponsor of OU Athletics.
Locked in with McComas and Thune, live on the Ref. We're the home of Sooner fans. Tyler McComas, Parker Thune, Ref Army, what up? Merry Christmas to all of you out there listening on this Christmas Eve worldwide on the KREF app. Just search KREF in the App Store. Napa, California is tuned in today. Emporia, Kansas. Fairmont, West Virginia. Wetumpka, Alabama. New Orleans, Louisiana. Las Cruces, New Mexico. Greenwood, Indiana. Guyman, Oklahoma, all tuned in today via the free KREF app. And our Ref Army Locator is brought to you by Hornsdown Apple Pie. Hey, maybe you still need that last minute Christmas gift out there. If you do, drink Hornsdown, a perfect gift for any OU fan out there. DrinkHornsdown.com to see all the locations you can get Hornsdown Apple Pie across the states of Oklahoma. All right, in terms of players who are out there that would be the big splash, that we would be excited about, especially on offense, I think Zachariah Branch is certainly one of those guys. Georgia visit, Arizona State visit over the weekends. Are people starting to lean slightly Georgia for Zachariah Branch, or is this thing truly wide open?
I will be 100% transparent with you, Tyler. I do not have a clue. I have not followed the Zach Branch saga.
Well, you haven't followed it. It means that OU probably not much in the mix at this point. But
no,
I did see
haven't been
a low prediction earlier today for the Georgia Bulldogs to end up with Zachariah Branch, but seems like that there's probably a long way to go for the former USC wide receiver. Defensive end Logan George, a guy that maybe we need to keep an eye on. You definitely need another defensive end in the transfer portal. We talked about that from the get-go. Things starting to look positive between OU and Logan George, or I guess continuing to look positive between the two.
Yeah, well, I know people in the OU circle are optimistic about their chances with Logan George. Here's the problem, Tyler. The problem is Ohio State. And more specifically, the problem is that Ohio State just dog-walked Tennessee on Saturday night in the college football playoff. So You wanted to make a splash of a statement to a kid like Logan George. Ohio State did that over the weekend. They are competing for a national championship over the next few weeks. Oklahoma is playing in the Armed Forces Bowl this Friday. And so no doubt their pitch to Logan George is going to be, really? You still want to entertain Oklahoma based on where they're at as a program? I mean, look at us. We just pounded Josh Heupel and the Vols. We're moving on. We're in the hunt for a national championship. Come be a part of this. Don't go be part of a rebuild at Oklahoma. So that's what's complicating things right now, is the reality that Ohio State is the other team in the mix, Tyler, and they have a very strong case to make for Logan George right about now.
Yeah, it sucks to hear, but I mean, that's one of the biggest wins of the Ryan Day tenure so far at Ohio State. I don't know what else would rank up there. They seem like they beat Penn State every single year. He did beat Michigan, the first year he was the head coach there, but the way that they just destroyed Tennessee in front of the entire country like they did, that definitely feels like one of the biggest wins of the Ryan Day era thus far. So, yeah, they got a lot of momentum from that, sure, and now they are favored to beat Oregon in the Rose Bowl. The team that beat them earlier this year, the team that won the Big Ten, the team that's out there that's undefeated, Ohio State's like a 2.5 point favorite right now over the Oregon Ducks. That would certainly create a lot of momentum for the Buckeyes if they get that one. And then Cole Gonzalez, Western Carolina quarterback. Now, it's going to be tough, I would imagine, for OU at this point to go get a quarterback that feels like they have an actual chance to play somewhere, because not to say that quarterback couldn't be QB2, barring something, but in all likelihood that's going to be your QB3 next year. So if Cole Gonzalez has better options on the table, that could probably be a tough one for OU to get.
Yeah, and this to me, like, I don't really understand the decision to process Brendan Zurbrugg. And the Oklahoma coaching staff gets paid to make these decisions. I do not, so I will defer to their judgment. But if we're just looking at the situation right now as it stands and the discrepancy, or I guess the difference between rostering Brendan Zurbrugg for another year versus bringing in Cole Gonzalez, here's the thing, Tyler. You're almost going to have to overpay for a guy like Cole Gonzalez if you want to bring him in, because what you're going to have to essentially convince him of is that he has no professional future. What you have to convince him of is that he is better served to be a third stringer at Oklahoma than competing for a starting job at like Charlotte or Pitt, which are two schools that are quite interested in him. And you're going to have to convince him that, hey, you should take the money now in the short term while you can, because it's the most you're going to ever make playing the sport of football versus going somewhere, maybe playing, maybe not playing, but you're not going to get paid near as much. My point is, there's going to be a substantial financial investment either way if you want to go and grab Cole Gonzalez. And I don't really understand why you would have pushed a guy out the door in order to bring in somebody that it feels like you're going to have to overpay for if you want him.
Sure. By the way, here are some of the outgoing transfers where they've committed to in the past few days. Andrel Anthony to Duke, Farouk to Maryland, J.J. Hester at Kentucky, Petaway, East Carolina, Dasan McCullough going to Nebraska, B.J. Brooks headed to UCLA, Ashton Sanders also committed to UCLA, Chapman McCown announced Central Arkansas today, and the quarterback that you just mentioned, Zurbrugg, he's committed to Utah currently. So some interesting commits out there for some outgoing transfers for Oklahoma. But let's get back to the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. As I am at Caven's group today, remember, you don't need Cavens until you need Cavens. But when you need Cavens, oh boy, you need Cavens. And I hope that you don't need Cavens this holiday season. I hope that you don't. I hope it's not an emergency situation at your home, office building, wherever. But if that happens, put it in your phone. Cavens Group, 405-573-3048. They're on the call 24/7, 365. Yes, including Christmas Day. Gary and the team will be all over it if an emergency happens for you. 405-573-3048. Okay, from the state of Tennessee. Strong affinity for covered wagons at the FCS level in Kennesaw State. Outside of that, shrug emoji. Yeah.
Oh, man. How many, let's think here. how many of Oklahoma's portal additions to this point are FCS? Keontae Lewis, Giovanni Gibson, Derek Simmons. I guess that's it, 3 of 8. But then you have 2 from Kennesaw State. So 3 of your 8 transfer portal additions are from the FCS level. 2 of the 8 are from what was probably the worst P4 organization in the country in 2024. So, again, this is where I go back to it, Tyler. I get that the report card is not finished yet, and you get an incomplete grade for the time being. But if we're just looking at it as it stands, it's kind of John Mateer and everybody else right now in this portal class for Oklahoma.
Yep. 405, I would not defer to their judgment. Joe John Finley is still employed there. 405
Okay.
Taylor with a nice one. Hey, guys, wanted to thank you for all of your hard work this year, continuing to bring us Sooner fans nonstop coverage on all things OU. No better station out there. Well, thank you for that, 405 Taylor. I would say to you, 405 Taylor, and to everyone out there, whether you're listening live right now via the app, whether you're watching on YouTube Live, whether you're listening to the podcast after the fact, if you're still listening to 1400 AM as well, like however you're listening, thank you for listening, because we're not allowed to do, or we can't do this if you guys don't show up every single day. And I think one of the things that separates us from really any other media market media outlet in the state of Oklahoma is we build a community here. And you guys are the reason why. You show up every single day on the text line. You make us laugh. You care about it a lot. You get emotional. You get fired up. Like I love that. And Parker, we've truly built a community here. And there's just, to me, there's not anyone out there doing what we're doing. So I'm very proud of the year that we had here at the Ref and looking forward to bigger things here in the future.
Oh, as am I, and it is all made possible by all of you crazies out there that listen and interact every single day. So we appreciate every single one of you this holiday season.
He said crazies, and he's right. All right? You guys are crazy, but it's why we love you, all right?
Fanatics.
A little crazy as well over here when it comes to this athletic program, for sure. 24/7 Sports has OU right now ranked as the number 20 overall portal class. So that's kind of where OU sits right now. Texas Tech sitting at number 1. Jeez, they just got all the oil and gas money, and they're just throwing it around like crazy so far. Man.
It's too bad OU never recruited Cody Campbell back in the day, because Cody Campbell's buying Texas Tech a whole new roster right now.
Yeah, no kidding, man. They are they're all over it right now, trying to build some momentum out there in Lubbock. James in Lawton says it's a little concerning that seemingly most of our outgoing players are headed to big-name programs where most of our incoming guys are FCS or small FBS. I realize there are guys that start at small places and end up being really good, but it's making me nervous about the offensive talent pool. And look, we'll clearly see how it all works out. I think a lot of the guys that are outgoing and maybe even ended up at some FBS programs that you know of were processed out in some ways. Maybe told outright that you don't have a spot here, we got to get down to this number, or here's what we're willing to pay you, and the writing was on the wall that, they needed to leave. We'll see how it works out, because OU themselves made decisions on a lot of these guys. But if you're just looking at it that way, Parker, then I think that that's a very fair take so far, because you see guys going to, not that there's a ton of powerhouse programs on here, Nebraska, Colorado, K-State, Arkansas, UCLA, Auburn, LSU, and then you see what they're bringing in from other schools. Like, I can definitely understand the frustration up to this point for what's happened.
Elsewhere on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, Gunny of Stutzman Army says, I started listening at 8:30 this morning and will listen to everything on the pod again today. Merry Christmas to the Ref Army and all of the Ref crew. Thank you, Gunny. It's 4:20 somewhere. I know you know that as well as anyone. A 918 listener says, with as many players as we have making bank in the NFL right now, our NIL budget should be a lot bigger. Yeah, where's Trent Williams and Lane Johnson and Baker Mayfield with the mega donations?
Well, do you need Baker's money, or do you just need Baker's availability? Just ask him to call every transfer portal play. I mean, he'd be calling about 8 tight ends by now, right? But I'm sure Baker could help there on the offensive side or defensive side, whatever.
Elsewhere on the text line here, Porter's Nemesis says, I heard someone say they saw an Instagram rumor Mateer may flip to Notre Dame. Any truth to that? That's a deep cut joke. You've been listening for a long time if you get that one. Well done, Porter's Nemesis.
Well, it's not 2-star Porter's Nemesis anymore. It's 3-star Porter's Nemesis. I'm changing it right now. That's such a good joke that earns another star. Go ahead.
A 918 listener says, what happened to Bradley from Boston College? How'd they let him go and commit to Kansas State? Well, he wanted a little bit more money than OU was willing to part with. And to be frank, it was more money than Jaron Bradley is worth. So there are other receivers out there that Oklahoma can and will pursue to fill that 4th spot. They didn't need Jaron Bradley. Jaron Bradley, that's going to be like he's right up there with DJ Hicks in the Hall of Fame amongst almost Sooners.
Jeez, right? I mean, it's like, all right, this time around, feel like we have a pretty good shot at this guy, right? And it just never happens, and it's so infuriating. I don't know how many years of eligibility he has left. Maybe he has just one, no clue. But, next portal cycle, just one. Well, miraculously, he'll get another year of eligibility because that's what the NCAA does right now, right? Just throw out extra years of eligibility. So I'm sure in a year from now, he'll be granted an extra year and be kicking the tires on Oklahoma. Maybe that's what will happen.
Brent from Jenks says Malachi Coleman is still available. Just saying.
Still out there, huh?
I am also just saying.
What's the biggest position of need right now? I mean, you've got your you're going to need another quarterback, but I wouldn't say that that's the biggest position of need because that QB is going to be QB3. Do we think that tight end is still the biggest position of need? Do we think a defensive end is still the biggest position of need? Like, you got your biggest overall in the quarterback in Jean Mateer, but what specific position needs a dude right now? Where does OU need to go get a really good player in the transfer portal more than anywhere else?
I don't know how popular of an answer this will be. I feel like the most popular answer among listeners would probably be tight end. I think it's wide receiver, Tyler. I know Oklahoma has 3 receivers committed in the portal. I feel like they still need one true difference maker at that position because with Deion Burks having been banged up all season, with Jaden Gibson missing the entire campaign due to injury, I think you need somebody else in that room that you can count on, that you can rely on to produce at a high level. You got a bunch of dudes amongst that group that you hope will produce at a high level. But who have you seen it with? I could argue that the answer in that room right now as it stands is nobody.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly potential with Deion Burks, but in terms of who's done it in an Oklahoma uniform, this might sound crazy, but would like the most established guy to this point be a guy that didn't play it down last year in Jaden Gibson?
Probably so.
And that's to the point, right? Like, you need someone that's established, that stayed healthy, that's been productive, and yeah, I mean, I certainly think wide receiver is up there. Maybe Satania's a dude. Maybe Keontez Lewis is going to have a big year. Javonte Gibson, but someone that's proven at a high level, man, would be nice. There's no doubt about that. All right, a lot of text. We'll try to get to as many as we can coming up next. 405-651-3439. Keep it coming on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We'll close up Locked In coming up next. Horns Down Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the Yums because Spike was safe, Horns Down Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Horns Down celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Pharmaceutical expertise with insurance knowledge to help you navigate the options, find the right fit, and make informed decisions about your health and financial security. Visit makeahealthplan.com or call 405-217-0711. Plan Insurance, your trusted Medicare partner.
Don't miss out on OKC's hottest entertainment at the Showplace Theater with acts like Ron White, December 27th.
I'm smart, but you can't prove it on paper.
Aaron Lewis and the Stateliners, February 21st. March 15th. And Chicago, March 28th. Riverwind is OKC's favorite casino experience.
Did you know there's a place where you can get good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates on home and auto insurance? Yep, and that place is, ta-da, State Farm. Here's the deal. State Farm agent Cindy Nasher is your go-to agent in Norman for the service you deserve at the price you want. So stop shopping around. State Farm agent Cindy Nasher has you covered. Call 405-307-0500 for surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
How about this? We're hanging out with the winningest coach in OU football history, Bob Stoops, Mondays on the T-Row in the Morning Show. It's the Stoops Review with the HBC on the T-Row Show, Mondays from 7:45 to 8:30 with limited commercial interruption. Every Monday, we'll be looking back at Saturday's OU game with a guy who knows what he's looking at. Bob Stoops, the Visor, the HBC on our show every Monday. Check it out.
When you're sick, you need to be seen by a health professional today, not next week. Norman Regional Urgent Care is here for you from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Open 7 days a week at Porter Health Village in Norman and Monday through Friday in Westmore and Goldsby. No appointment needed, just walk right in. Whether it's a sudden illness or a minor injury, Norman Regional Urgent Care is ready to get you back on your feet today, not next week.
Coach Stoops here for Van Hoos Fence. If you want to work with the best local fence company and get championship service, contact my friend Mark and the Van Hoos Fence team. Van Hoos Fence gives each customer the most professional craftsmanship and competitive pricing in Oklahoma. From wood to chain link to vinyl to metal fences, the Van Hoos Fence team does it all. Contact the Fencing All-Americans at Van Hoos Fence, 405-735-1167 or vhfence.com.
Are you in need of a dependable electrical contractor and not sure where to start? Look no further than Wade Electric. In December and January, Wade Electric offers up to 30% savings on accent lighting, panel changes, and other select services. Take advantage of the opportunity to save big on much-needed upgrades to your home or business. Let Wade Electric help you save by calling 405-329-1940 today.
It's the end of year and Lander CDJR is celebrating with huge savings on new cars, trucks, and SUVs. $17,500 off of MSRP on new Ram 1500 Rebel Crew 4-wheel drive. New 2024 Ram 2500, $16,500 off of MSRP. New 2024 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, over $10,000 off MSRP. Plus, find massive savings on certified pre-owned vehicles. Visit Lander CDJR for huge year-end savings at I-35 in Norman, or visit online at LanderCDJRNorman.com. Ram 1500 stock number RN207871. Wrangler Rubicon stock number RW331425.
Are you looking for a local general contractor? Look no further than Windstone Construction. Windstone has been building for your favorite doctor, dentist, attorney, restaurant group, veterinarian, day spa owner, and even your neighbor since 2012. It's time to give Windstone a call at 405-329-7979 or visit WindstoneConstructionOK.com. Windstone Construction, building today, developing for tomorrow. Dorsey Jones, Buick GMC in El Reno, bringing you this hour of Locked In with McComas and Thune. Great selection, great pricing. Go check them out in El Reno. Dorsey Jones, Buick GMC. Let's see what's going on in the YouTube live chat right now. Sooner Fan 109 does wish us a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. Same to you, Sooner Fan 109, and everyone else out there. Michael says portal grades: quarterback A, O-line C, wide receiver D, punter B, tight end F. Defense, apparently no money left. Dustin says OU 2025 will equal the best FCS team in all of college football. Cody Jones says it's the 2- and 3-star players that get us to the championships. Mark says Oklahoma needs to stop shopping in the bargain bin. And, yeah, so that's currently the mood right now on YouTube. Very, very happy. Cheerful. Oh, boy.
Yeah, by the way, we have news.
Okay.
Logan George has committed to Ohio State.
Yeah.
So The coveted Idaho State transfer defensive end off the board and not in Oklahoma's favor. So, fun times, folks. Fun times.
Yep, 7 minutes ago, thankful to announce my commitment to The Ohio State University. I'm looking forward to what the future has in store. So that's a bummer. Definitely a bummer on this Monday. Okay, 615 State of Tennessee says, let's say the Branch brothers required $1.5 million in total to come to Norman. Which of the following reasons would be more likely for us to not land them? 1, BV blocks it because it fears it would create a locker room problem. Or 2, Oklahoma can't pull together the cash.
Frank, I will be completely honest. Right now, I don't think there's any reason not to pay Zion and Zachariah Branch $1.5 million to come to the University of Oklahoma. I feel like that would be a game changer for this program. That would be your dynamo at wide receiver that I think you lack right now. You got a bunch of guys that are exciting, but Zach Branch, man, he might be the most electrifying player in college football. And if you use him the way that the Chiefs used Tyreek Hill, because you got to remember, as I've said before, and I'm not the only one that will tell you this, Zach Branch is the closest thing to Tyreek Hill in all of college football. And Tyreek Hill was not used as a wide receiver until he got to the NFL, Tyler, and started catching passes from Patrick Mahomes with the Kansas City Chiefs. So if you start using Zach Branch as an actual wide receiver, as opposed to more of just a return specialist gadget dude like Muleshoe was doing, that, I think, creates some very exciting propositions for your offense. But moreover, $1.5 million, I mean, that's what it's going to cost these days if you want to get a true game changer at wide receiver. You can go get a good one for $750 or so. You can get a good one for half that, but you want to get a special one, man. And to be fair, the 3 guys that Oklahoma's gotten so far, they haven't cost a ton of money. So I feel like they should have the budgetary space to be able to go and launch a pursuit of a big-time wide receiver like that. But I think it would be more likely that Oklahoma would just arrive at the conclusion that Zach Branch was not worth that money and they would focus their attention elsewhere.
First-time texter from the 405. Who starts at tight end in the bowl game? That would be Jake Roberts. The depth chart goes Jake Roberts, Caden Helms, and Devon Mitchell as your 1, 2, 3 at tight end for the bowl game. Starting wide receivers, looks like it'll be Carione, Burks, or Jacob Jordan, and Reagans as your 3 starters in the bowl game. And, of course, Michael Hawkins will be starting at QB. So, sweet. Let's go. Let's go win the dadgum thing. The spread has dropped quite a bit. What was it, like 9.5 when it first opened? The spread is down to 3 currently right now. OU is a 3-point favorite as we are officially in game week of OU and Navy. Okay.
That is a lot of movement, Tyler. Good grief.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't shock me, though. I mean, the way that Navy looked or how good they looked the last time they played and, you know, kind of what's happened numbers-wise for OU, I'm definitely not shocked that it's moved down like basically a touchdown since it opened. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, super competitive, very close game that probably comes down to the final 5 minutes of the football game. Do you see it any other way than that? Because I feel pretty confident that's what it's going to look like.
I think there's a world where Oklahoma just blows the doors off Navy. But if that's going to happen, Tyler, we will know that's where it's headed by the end of the first quarter. To me, you will know everything you need to know about this football game by the end of the first quarter. If it's, say, a 7-7 football game, then it'll probably be a one-possession game. But there's a world in which it's 21-0 at the end of the first quarter because Navy just can't run with Oklahoma's skill dudes, and you've got a blowout in the works.
405 says, serious question here. How much does our 2025 schedule play into how much they are willing to spend in NIL next year? It seems to make sense to me if the schedule is brutal next season, you save the majority of your money for the following year, but I realize, too, that BV is trying to keep his job. Yeah, I would feel like I'd be very surprised and honestly extremely disappointed if the University of Oklahoma looked at its upcoming football schedule and said, well, that's a little bit too difficult. It's brutal. I guess we better save our money for the following season. Like that, that would be disappointing to me.
And here's what I would say in response to that. and this is a point that I have to bring people back to pretty much every single offseason, you have no idea. I have no idea how tough that schedule actually is. Because, for instance, you know what was the one game in SEC play that everybody was sharpieing in as a victory for Oklahoma, 6 months ago? It was South Carolina, Tyler. Need I remind you what happened when South Carolina came to Norman?
Don't.
Need
Please.
I remind you
No.
how drastically South Carolina outpaced expectations, preseason expectations going into 2024? So that's why I say you have no idea how tough that schedule actually is. You know the identities of the opponents. You have absolutely no idea, nor do I, how good those teams are going to be, especially right now when there is still so much to be done in the portal for each of those programs that their outlook can be drastically altered in the weeks and months ahead. So I don't buy that Oklahoma is keeping bullets in the chamber moving into 2025 just because they think the schedule is too difficult.
No, but even if you could prove, even if somehow you could prove, like, hey, your schedule in 2025, it's going to be the most difficult in school history. The teams that you think will be good are going to be really good. You're going to play this many top 15, top 25 teams. I don't care if you could prove right now that the schedule is really tough. You don't do that. You're the University of Oklahoma. You're in the SEC right now. You've got to go all out every single year, man. You just have to. And like the texter said, Brent's job is on the line. They know that. Everyone knows that at this point. I would be shocked and also extremely disappointed in the leadership at Oklahoma if there was ever a thought that, well, the schedule might be too difficult, so let's hold back a little bit for the following year. I don't think that that's what's going on right now.
Puerto Rican Sooner on the text line said that South Carolina game was the worst 5 minutes of my life.
You know what, Puerto Rican Sooner? I'm trying to think back. It was pretty awful. The whole Missouri fiasco did not last 5 minutes, but the 5 minutes immediately after that were pretty awful as well. But the South Carolina game, unfortunately, is up there too. Texter from the state of Arkansas says, am I crazy to think that the Gibson duo, Deion Burks, and mix in Kearney, Jacob Jordan, and probably Elijah Thomas, and the wide receiver room is actually in good shape? It's like everybody has lost sight that young guys can develop from year one to year two. Hell, maybe I'm crazy. And yeah, sure. I mean, you can definitely develop from year one to year two. There's just not a lot of proven commodities in that group that you just mentioned, which makes it a tad concerning.
Yeah, I don't think you're crazy, but, again, we have no way of knowing. We can speculate. We can guess. We can have our opinions, but we haven't seen it with any of those guys. We haven't seen the production at the University of Oklahoma or even at the FBS level that you're going to need from guys like that to be competitive in the SEC. Circling back around to the previous text, because I feel the need to bring this up. With you mentioned South Carolina, you mentioned Missouri. The craziest part was that Missouri game. The last 2 minutes of that Missouri game was 2 minutes that took like half an hour.
Yeah.
The first 5 minutes of the South Carolina game, that was like a real-time 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was an actual 5 minutes. Like, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong faster than you could go run and get a beer from the concession stand.
Well, unfortunately, Chris from Knoxville put it perfectly. South Carolina was a quick bullet to the head. Mizzou was getting stabbed over and over again with a dull knife. God, got killed meth head style there is what you're saying, Chris? Oh, man. Yeah, that works out. Checks out. I've heard Zachariah
Mizzou
Branch.
Felt a lot like the
yeah, go ahead.
It felt a lot like the call an ambulance but not for me meme. That was the last 2 minutes of that football game.
405, I've heard Branch is a terrible route runner. Secondly, don't like him, but Riley is no dummy. If Branch was so good, Riley would have had him starting at wide receiver and targeted him a lot, and I don't think that was the case.
I mean, okay, point taken. I'll acknowledge that may be true. However, Tyreek Hill wasn't that great a route runner when he started. He was just fast.
Just run fast.
All you had to do was just get him run past somebody and then throw it up to him, let him run under it. So, like, with a dude who's that fast, that quick, that elusive, that agile, I don't think he needs to be a great route runner, and I'm fine if he's not. Just let him go run around out there, see what kind of space he can create, and get him the ball.
Doesn't seem like there's very many visits on the horizon. I mean, there will be some, but pretty locked into bowl prep at this point. I would guess that's where the focus of the staff is right now with the game coming up this week. And after the bowl game concludes, I'm sure that they're going to be right back to the portal grind once again.
And potentially the tampering grind.
Hey.
Pickens are getting slim, Tyler. I'm just saying. Pickens are getting slim.
That's true, unfortunately. Okay, 405. Take John Mateer out of the transfer portal class. What letter grade do you give this transfer portal class? How many of these guys they've gotten are just bodies? How many will actually contribute even to a minimal degree, especially in conference?
It's like a D+, absent John Mateer. Add John Mateer, right now it's like a C+. Without John Mateer, it's a D+.
Well, the other part of this question, how many will actually contribute even to a minimal degree? I think a lot of these guys are going to contribute next year. I think Giovanni Gibson, Keontez Lewis, Isaiah Satania will be right there in the mix at wide receiver. Derek Simmons, I think that you're bringing him in with the expectation that he's going to play a lot of snaps next year. Ulrich has a great chance to be your punter. Carson Kent has a great chance to be in the mix at tight end. So, I mean, there's not a lot of these guys I look at and say, yeah, they have no chance to play. I would say all these guys definitely have a chance to play next year. I don't know how that makes people feel. I'm guessing not great, but I don't think that they brought in a bunch of bodies that won't contribute next year, won't be on the field. Those guys I just mentioned will be on the field.
They're going to have to be on the field.
They'll be there. They'll be there, man. 8 transfer portal gets up to this point, like I said earlier. OU currently, according to 24/7 Sports, the number 20 transfer portal class as it sits right now. I am at Cavens today, 405-573-3048. Don't forget to go follow them on Facebook. Cavins, Cavins group on Facebook. They do some really cool giveaways from time to time. So just a simple follow by you to Cavins group on Facebook could really net you a cool prize at some point in the future. So Cavins group, Gary and the team, they do a fantastic job. We'll talk to him later in the show. But again, that's 405-573-3048. All right, you have a Merry Christmas up there with your family. Go hammer some eggnog.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. Rush is coming up next.